Out fairly well for them. Sure, they'd lost some good people, and some things hadn't gone their way, but compared to how things could be and how they were for many, Silver Hills was in great shape. Mark knew they had many challenges still in front of them, but he knew these people could pull together and do anything they set their minds to. The epiphany was invigorating, and Mark resolved to help meet those challenges head on. Saturday morning, Mark woke up and looked at his calendar. It had been 117 days since the burst. The world had completely changed in less than 4 months. Mark still didn't know what had caused the burst, but he found he was much less concerned with that than he'd been right after it happened. He found it strange that he no longer wanted things to go back to the way they were before it happened. He missed a lot of what civilization provided, but somehow he felt more alive now. It was hard for him to describe, even to himself. He dressed and made his way to the kitchen and began preparing breakfast. Others began to drift in and help. After a while, Jess appeared, and Mark noticed she was beginning to show that she was pregnant. He kissed her and then bent over and kissed her belly, talking to the growing life inside her with baby talk. Everyone laughed. Before long, they were sitting around the tables, eating breakfast. Halfway through the meal, Mark heard an unmistakable noise. It was the noisy 6-cylinder diesel of a Dodge truck. A moment later, Greg Hardy's truck pulled around to the back. Greg and Rob got out of the big truck, along with Judge Hickman and another man Mark didn't recognize. "Morning, everyone," Rob said with a big smile. Mark noticed that all of the men were smiling. His heart leaped. Rob had won. Greg walked over to the family and friends around the tables. "Everyone, this is Judge Hickman. Judge Hickman, this is Mark Turner and his family." The judge extended his hand to Mark. "It's nice to meet you, Mr. Turner. It's nice to meet all of you," he said as Mark shook his hand. "Mr. Turner, this is Jose Villanova, the county's election supervisor." The man reached out to shake Mark's hand. "It's nice to meet the karate man," Jose said with a grin. Mark was embarrassed, but a little, but hoped it didn't show. "Please, just call me Mark." "It's nice to meet you both. So the results are in, huh?" The four men nodded. "What took so long?" Mark asked, since he already knew who had won. "We had to make sure the winner had at least 50% of the vote," Jose explained. "If he didn't, then there would have to be a runoff election between the top 2 vote-getters." "But there were only 2 candidates to begin with," Mark stated, confused at what he was being told. "That's true, but we had a few write-ins on the ballots." It made sense now. If the election was close to being split 50-50, then just a few write-ins could cause neither candidate to secure a majority. "But Rob just squeaked over with the 50% mark, huh?" "No, Mark," Rob replied. "I only got about 20% of the votes." Mark's jaw dropped. Barney had won? How could that be? Rob and Greg were smiling like kids on Christmas morning. What could be going on, he wondered. "So Barnes won?" he asked. "No. Deputy Barnes came in second," Judge Hickman said. Then who won?" Mark stuttered. "You did," Jose answered. Mark wasn't sure what he'd heard. It sounded like Jose had said he'd won the election, but that wasn't possible. Before he could ask for clarification, Jess did it for him. "I'm sorry. What did you say?" she asked. "The karate man is our new sheriff," Jose answered. "How did that happen?" Jim asked as Mark just stood slack-jawed.